The helicopter crashed just before 2:30 in the Indian Dunes Park as a Warner Brothers crew is about to wrap up filming for a story in the new Twilight Zone movie. The scene called for a nighttime bombing of a Vietnamese village in which actor Vic Morrow was supposed to pick up two Vietnamese children and run across the Santa Clara riverbed.
There are no work permits on file for the children who were killed, 6-year-old Renee Chen or 7-year-old Micah Din Lee. They were supposed to have them.
Filming began on the night of July 22nd, 1982, and went into the wee hours of the morning. And during a test explosion earlier in the evening, the crew on the helicopter were jolted by the turbulence and told Landis
it was a little too rocky here, John. Just a heads up.
So then he replied to the crew, "You think that was big? You ain't seen nothing yet."
Wow.
So it wasn't until after 2 a.m. when it finally came time to film the final shot. And in the screenplay, here's how it is written. The helicopter makes another pass, and then one of the huts explodes in a spectacular fireball. Bill, holding a child in each arm, makes a Herculean effort and runs for the shallow river. With the huts burning behind them, Bill runs as best he can across the river. At this point, Vic Morrow is pacing around. He's nervous. Let's play that clip. And by the way, the man talking in this clip wrote this excellent book, Outrageous Conduct, which I have gotten a ton of information from.
Booyah.
Vic Morrow felt it was physically demanding and a little bit overwhelming. But he felt that he couldn't afford to be too vociferous in challenging this powerful film director. So he did it against his better judgment.
According to legend, on the set of a movie called Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry in the 1970s.
My favorite movie.
Vic Morrow
Everybody's favorite movie.
He insisted on a $1 million life insurance policy to do a helicopter stunt. When asked why, Vic replied, "I have always had a premonition that I'll be killed in a helicopter crash." So now the final shot is ready to go, right? You got 6 cameras shooting, and Landis wanted the helicopter, the actors, and the village in the same shot. Inside the helicopter, you have a pilot named Dorsey Wingo. Isn't that a great name for a pilot?
That's the best name of a pilot I've ever heard in my life.
But it's gonna
and
be
I've heard them all.
Dorsey Propellero.
Yeah.
There's no wings on this thing.
Dorsey Wingo.
The Wingo killed your baby.
Doing this. Jesus.
Oh my God.
Come on.
It's so on the nose.
It's just too, I don't know.
Also on the helicopter, Dan Allingham. Remember, it was him who had gone over stunts with Vic originally in his Encino home.
Yes.
And then 2 cameramen were also on board. So the helicopter's just hovering above the village, waiting for the scene to be shot. And then watching from the North Shore was executive producer Frank Marshall, who was Spielberg's closest delegate on the set that night.
He wasn't watching from the shore. He was in the bathroom.
We were all in the bathroom. That's right, boss.
Yeah. And then FX coordinator Paul Stewart was overseeing all the explosions. So one of the people he was overseeing is a FX tech named James Chamomile. Not chamomile, but chamomile.
No relation to the G.
I was watching some news footage and they said chamomile instead of chamomile. Anyway. So this FX tech detonated the first of 3 bombs in the back of the village. And another tech was setting off simultaneous explosions on the other side. At this point, it's getting it's out of control. So there's camera operators on top of the cliff that had to run to escape a very hot cloud of smoke and ash. Paul Stewart, the FX coordinator, he would later claim that the detonations came faster than he had instructed.
Wait, so someone fucked up there?
Chamomile.
Oh, really?
He's the one that,
guy.
yeah, he was going too fast, apparently, with the explosions.
But wasn't he being told to?
Well, that's Paul Stewart claims he told him something else.
So Landis just creates this kind of wild,
yeah. There's a lot of confusion,
chaotic
on this set.
kind of world in which no one knows, who's doing what now.
And so at this point, John Landis, in his bullhorn, says, "Lower, lower, lower, fire, fire, fire."
That seems important.
Tora, Tora, Tora.
So grass huts explode in the background. There's a savage wind, and then Vic stumbled in the water. And Landis has said that this was planned. Like that was acting to have Vic stumble. Renee Chen, the little girl, she gets dropped in the water at this point. And immediately after, Chamomile set off 2 explosions that created a large fireball that blasts the helicopter violently. Pilot Dorsey Wingo lost control of the helicopter, and Renee was crushed by the right skid.
So just to clarify, he lost control. Wingo did.
Yes, after being blasted by
Because the
fireball.
the blast fireballs made it untenable to fly the helicopter anymore.
It broke off the back, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Chamomile was focused on the actors, he said, and he was not looking up to see that there was a helicopter above him when he detonated those final explosions.
Jeez.
But from that map they were showing on that clip, the helicopter was not supposed to go over the head of the actors.
Right.
Yeah, they're supposed to be off to the side.
Yeah.
Total
Just
loss of
poorly
control.
put together, yeah.
Everyone was a little confused.
And it's not like it drops straight down either. Like, we'll show the footage so you see that it turns to its side. So it would, like, if it wasn't over their head, it would eventually be over their head. Or if
Right.
it fell the other way, it would just have fallen further away from them. But
So yeah, Renee is crushed, and then Vic and Mika are decapitated by the main rotor, and all 3 died instantly.
I would hope so.
We can get to the footage.
Yeah. So these explosions are insane.
Yeah.
It's just way too much. You could just tell. It just even looking at it now, it looks like way too big.
The movie Backdraft didn't have that much fire in
For
it.
real. Like, I'm surprised they didn't get set on fire. The wind is so crazy and those fireballs are so big.
Like even like your hair would all be singed from all this insanity.
Yeah.
That water must have been just like weirdly hot too from all like the fire going on.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Oh my.
Whoa!
It never ceases to be shocking to see
Yeah.
that when the
They
helicopter
just have
comes
a,
down.
a
It's so
live
fast.
helicopter too. I just can't believe.
So chaos ensues on the set. You know, people are like, "Where are the actors?" Blood is filling the water. The AD Andy House lifted Vic's torso out of the water in horror. Like, what is this? It turns out to be Vic Morrow's torso. Like, horrifying. Human parts are floating in the river, and Renee's mother is wailing by her body. Wingo,
Oh my God.
Wingo, the pilot, was in a daze, and as he was being let off, he asked someone, "Where's Vic?" And they're like, "Yeah, we got some bad news." And a voice calls over the loudspeaker that's a rap urging everybody to go home. That all was, you know, after 2 a.m. The scene had started shooting around like 2:20. By the time police arrived on the scene at 2:45, executive producer Frank Marshall vanished. He was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. He's speeding down the 405 at that point.
he's set to be anywhere else but there.
It's like a cartoon, like,
I gotta be anywhere
and
else.
you see a cloud of smoke.
Yeah.
So the script supervisor, a woman named Catherine Wooten, recalls having like a horrible 50-minute drive home to Marina Del Rey.
That's a good, like, 35 to 40 mile drive.
Yeah.
Thinking about what just happened.
And in retrospect, she said maybe they all should have just stayed to console each other a little longer. So Landis placed a pre-dawn phone call to his entertainment lawyer, who went right to work making sure all the files related to the movie were secured at his office at Universal. And then the entertainment guy also contacted a criminal defense attorney named Harlan Braun. He was highly recommended. And so they began gathering evidence for a defense well before the criminal and
Like
civil
immediately they're looking for a
indictments.
proper defense.
Absolutely.
Jeez.
And then another call Landis placed was to Steven Spielberg to tell him what had happened. And Landis later told friends that the first thing Steven asked was, "Do you have a press agent?"
Not like how are the parents doing and how's Vic
wait,
Morrow's wife
maybe
doing?
he asked that afterwards.
Yeah. How's Jennifer Jason Leigh?
Yeah, right. It should be noted that Fast Times at Ridgemont High would come out later that summer in 1982.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Vic did not live to see that.
Damn.
Yeah.
Landis attended all 3 funerals,
Oh, that's nice.
and he gave a eulogy at Vic Morrow's funeral. And he claims that he was asked to give the eulogy, by the way.
He just gets out. He steals the mic out of someone's hand.
I mean,
I got something to say.
There's no
I was
proof.
asked to do this.
Tragedy strikes in an instant, but film is immortal. Perhaps we can take some solace in the knowledge that through his work in stage, television, and film, Vic lives forever.
And he just skulks off.
That's 15
Yeah,
seconds.
It's a little hard to
God,
hear, but
yeah.
tragedy strikes in an instant, he says. It's comforting to know that Vic's work will live forever. Acting like he made Apocalypse Now.
yeah.
I mean, it's a good performance, though. Vic is very good in the
yeah.
segment. But
Yes, but it's not worth anyone dying or even
of
just
course not.
being a little bit uncomfortable for.
No, right, exactly. It's not worth any discomfort to make that movie. So the next morning, news spreads around Warner Brothers, right? And they try to detach themselves from this disaster as best they could. Key evidence was mysteriously lost.
Whoa.
Still photographs from the set and call sheets.
That's interesting. So we wouldn't know if a certain Spielberg was on set.
Apparently he wasn't.
Based off of who? Who's saying this?
But
I don't know.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I was not there, so I can't say.
Quote by Steven Spielberg. I wasn't there. He was in the bathroom.
So another producer that Steven worked with a lot and still does, her name is Kathleen Kennedy. She had produced E.T. and
She ruined Star Wars.
she and this Frank Marshall guy who vanished, that morning of the accident.
Yeah.
They were intent on keeping Spielberg away from all the bad press.
Yeah.
The one instance where Spielberg was thrown into the mess, a teamster who drove a special effects truck told the National Transportation Safety Board he had seen Spielberg on set that fateful night. Ooh. And that Spielberg had asked for a car right after the incident occurred.
Wow.
But the teamster later admitted that he might have confused Spielberg with Frank Marshall. So he kind of backtracked.
Which I'm sure we could put on the two side by side, especially at that time. It's absurd to even think they're remotely the same person.
Another strange thing is the NTSB abruptly ended the investigation into this accident in November of '82 without even doing a recreation of the accident.
It was a cover up.
The book was closed very fast.
But they brushed it under the carpet a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, when you're dealing with, a major heavyweight in the industry, no one wants to say anything.
No. And so now it's like, do they continue with the project? Do they cancel it? Warner Brothers thought it would look bad if they didn't continue, like they were somehow guilty. That could lead to maybe high legal costs.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, let's continue this.
The show must go on.
Yeah. So in September '82, the production resumed with Joe Dante's segment, It's a Good Life. And then in November, Miller filmed The Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. Spielberg wanted to get out of the project because E.T.'s the biggest thing right now, and he's planning the Indiana Jones sequel, Temple of Doom.
He's got other movies where 3 people didn't die.
Exactly. It's like a wet sock, that he has to put on.
But he has to. He has to just see it through.
So he nixed the idea of doing the Monsters Are Due on Maple Street and just picked a real simple, like, saccharine fantasy
Very
called
low ambition.
called Kick the Can. It was still based on one of the original episodes about old people playing Kick the Can and becoming young again.
I watched it and I hated it.
Yeah,
I hated it as well.
It's almost like the worst parts of Hook. Just really overly sentimental and
Didn't like Hook either, so I think it all is the worst part of Hook.
Oh wow, there we go.
The entire movie is the worst part of Hook.
Kyle, you have an
He was in the
opinion on that?
I was in the bathroom.
Oh, okay. What'd you say about Hook?
What the fuck you say about Hook?
So Spielberg starts shooting this thing the day after Thanksgiving. So the crew is not real thrilled either, right? And now he's about to go to England to present E.T. in front of the Queen.
What a weird thing to do.
So
May I present this alien movie to you?
I would like to see.
The production was rushed. It's perfunctory. He's like, all right, let's do this shot. Like 1 or 2 takes.
Yeah.
We're done.
Just one take.
0 takes sometimes. And it was shot.
Shoot the audition.
It was shot day for night. Very strict accordance with child labor laws.
One would hope.
Another guy that wanted to move on very fast from this was John Landis. In a matter of weeks,
surprise.
he's actually attached to direct a comedy called Black and White for Paramount. It's a Prince and the Pauper-like tale set on Wall Street. Does it sound familiar? And it would star Eddie Murphy, who was up and coming.
Hey.
And old pal Dan Aykroyd. So production begins on this movie in December 82. So just months after this horrific Twilight Zone accident. And
It's almost like he wanted to trade places.
I like the foreshadowing. All right, cat's out of the bag. The title was changed from black and white to Trading Places.
Hey, get out of here.
Whoa!
Whoa. Wow.
And the crew
I'm having a stroke.
the crew got a Christmas gift because at that same time, 48 Hours opens, is a box office smash, and it cements Eddie Murphy's superstardom.
Okay.
You know, the aura on the set of Trading Places, it was like sober. The crew, they were supportive.
Yeah.
Aykroyd told the press at the time, Landis is up and happy. And regarding the Twilight Zone, he said, that was an industrial accident, nothing more.
Well, Dan Aykroyd believes aliens are here, and he's met 3 of them. Like, he thinks he's a crazy person. He believes in the occult. And,
yeah.
And then Landis's wife, Deborah, stood by his side as well and said, less of a man would have been crushed like a dog after that accident. I think she
Crushed
means
like a dog.
he bounced back okay
Yeah,
because he's strong-willed.
It's a dumb way to put it. Crushed like a dog.
He'd been crushed like a dog.
Did I say dog?
Yeah.
The quote is bug.
Oh, really?
Oh, so you fucked up.
I'm so sorry I portrayed Deborah Landis as this crazy
As
person.
this idiot.
I'm the idiot. So now let's go to June 24th, 1983. Twilight Zone, the movie, finally opens in theaters. And it opens number 4 behind Return of the Jedi in its 5th week of release, by the way.
Understandable.
And also behind Superman 3 and Porky's 2.
Porky's 2 is hilarious.
2
Yeah.
very different movies.
That's a hard choice that weekend, right?
Well, yeah.
The worldwide gross for Twilight Zone, the movie, was $29 million. And remember, the budget was around $10 million. So it was a financial success.
Yeah.
Enough so that Carol Serling, the widow to Rod, she was able to get the ball rolling then on the 80s version of the Twilight Zone, which also was on CBS.
Yeah. I'm just so shocked. I mean, I guess there were so many monster movies that year, but the fact that it debuts at 4.
It should have been more, you're saying.
I feel
Should have
like
done
now,
better.
with like the culture we have now, if there was a movie that came out where people died during the making of it, I feel like people would just macabrely they would probably flock to see it, to be like, oh, this is the movie that fucking killed people.
I'm sure the reviews probably didn't help. They were extremely harsh for Landis and Spielberg.
Oh, wow.
But very positive for Dante and Miller.
Were Siskel and Ebert on TV by then?
Yeah, and
Oh, I bet we get a hot review from them.
I can tell you right now, it's exactly what I just said. Praise for Dante and Miller, and Landis and Spielberg fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
That's universally what every reviewer thought.
Wouldn't you say, with all the tradition of the Twilight Zone, they could have come up with 4 episodes, 4 strong ones instead of 2?
I wish they had.
And you know what other movie opened in June 1983?
What's that?
Trading Places.
Hey!
And so that received unanimously great reviews, grossed like $90 million in early 1980s
Young,
money.
hot Eddie Murphy.
Paramount even promoted Landis for an Oscar nomination for Best Director.
The tragedy, that was horrible. But after the tragedy, you read that, it affected my career and I never worked again. And I don't understand why they say that. I made some of my most successful movies after that, but